Alright, good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to Spot. What a beautiful day. Down here on the East Coast, we're expecting a major winter storm. They said it's supposed to be one of the worst winter storms that we've had in over 2 years. And I remember the storm that came 2 years ago because I had to shovel all of this snow off of the driveway and around the perimeter of this humongous house that I currently live in. And I think that was the time when the snow blower decided to malfunction and stop working. I think I broke 2 shovels that year. So here we are again, waiting on another nor'easter on the East Coast. And right now it's raining outside. And I'm about to go and pick up some additional items just in case we get dug in for a minute. Plenty of firewood outside. I'm going to bring some more inside. But pretty much ready for whatever Mother Nature decides to drop on us. I like to take a minute and thank Anthony Johnson for having me as a guest on his blog talk radio show named The Anthony Johnson Show. And I was afforded the opportunity to talk about Daddy's Right Here Incorporated, my documentary film, Words from the Wise, The Fatherhood Chronicles, as well as my book, which will be out in 2 weeks, Code Black. If you did not get a chance to catch that show last night, please log on and go to the Anthony Johnson Show on Blog Talk Radio and look for February 7th, 2013 as the date of the show and listen in. I enjoyed the show. I always enjoy having positive, productive dialogue with others, and that's important to me, that the dialogue is productive. I've spent enough years of my life being in unproductive dialogue, which is counterproductive to that which I'm seeking to achieve. And it's real important in relationships with others, that they're productive ones, that they're ones that can not only aid us, but in aiding the other person to be able to achieve, to grow. And a lot of times, some of these relationships that we're in don't do that. They're actually very draining, toxic, unhealthy relationships, and we're wondering why things are still stagnant. And sometimes we become complacent with some of these relationships because they provide us with a false sense of security. We see that the relationship is not going anywhere, but because it provides us with a particular benefit, whatever that benefit may be, we remain with it, and we keep talking about getting out of the relationship, moving away from the relationship, moving forward in life, but we seem to be drawn back to that relationship. And when we find ourselves in such situations, we don't invest time and effort in looking at ourselves. We point at the other person and we blame the other person for our condition. We blame them for why we feel the way we do. We blame them for why we have not moved forward, we have not grown, we have not progressed in this relationship. It's not their fault. Sure, they have a role in the stagnation of whatever that circumstance may be, but you can remove yourself from the situation, but you choose not to. you afraid of? What is it about you as a person that prevents you from detaching from that relationship? Last night, one of the things that I talked about was my abandonment as a child. And when I talk about abandonment and people hear the word abandonment, they think, well, I was like left on the doorstep of one of the neighbors or something, and they rang the neighbor's doorbell and opened the door, and there I was, an abandoned child. No, abandonment can happen, and both parents can be there, physically there, but you're still abandoned. My abandonment was based in my parents separating and my father's inability at that time to be emotionally available. He was in the house. He was an alcoholic during that time. Excuse me. Again, I want to show you my nice mug for my coffee. That's how much I enjoy coffee. This is actually a French roast that came from Whole Foods. Very good flavor. They say that it has a syrupy flavor, and you can kind of roll it around on your tongue and feel the texture in it. So they're exactly right. It's a nice, wonderful blend. So my father's existence in my life, from the perspective of a father, was pretty much non-existent. His existence in the home, his physical presence in the home was felt because he was a disciplinarian. But there was no connection, there was no bond, so the issues of detachment were somewhat non-existent for me because I was never attached to him. As a young child, I don't recall having a relationship with my father where he was nurturing and loving and I just don't remember any of those things happening between us. So it's no wonder why I am the way I am today in terms of enjoying the relationships that I have with other males. And the relationships are much different for me because of the work that I've done on myself and understanding my condition. But my abandonment has definitely put me in a compromising situation in many of my relationships as my life went on. Whenever I found myself in a position where I sensed that the relationship wasn't going too well, my issues of abandonment came to the forefront. Because here I am again in another situation where somebody else is leaving. Somebody else is not satisfied with who I am as a person and wants me to be something that they want me to be, and then I in turn would make the effort to be that good child, that good husband, that good boyfriend, that good friend, that good employee. You know, I put forth all those efforts in trying to appease the other people simply because I didn't want the relationship to end. I didn't want the relationship to end because I didn't want to go through those emotions of feeling abandoned again. And it has taken a lot of effort and energy throughout my life to get me to where I am today. I still am somewhat leery of developing relationships with others, but I don't allow it to stagnate my efforts. It's there, it exists, I know it exists, I've acknowledged that it exists, I acknowledge that it can be a problem for me at times when I'm faced with, or I get a sense that there's something not right about this relationship, and I begin to do things that compromise the relationship growing beyond where it is because my fears kick in. So I've gotten a lot better with that. But it's important that we understand ourselves. And a lot of times we're so busy putting all these facades about who we want others to believe we are, that we begin to believe we are the person that we have been convincing others we are. So we need to practice self-transparency. And what we call it in the clinical sense is self-disclosure, where we begin to tell people things about ourselves in an effort to establish some level of comfort about that area of our character. I pretty much don't have a problem talking about most of my characteristics, flawed, unflawed, whatever it may be. It helps me when I talk about me. It helps me to grow. It also allows others to see that they too can do that with me and not be judged by it, not have it held against them. Because a lot of times we give people things, and the first opportunity they get when they get angry with us is they use that. Well, see, I told you, see, you haven't managed that area of your life. You still get angry and you still blow up. I didn't say that I don't. But I gave that to you, so maybe you can help me when you're around me and you see that behavior beginning to happen. But most importantly is for me to say it so I don't feel like it's a secret and like others don't know. So it makes us vulnerable. And many of us don't want to feel vulnerable. We don't want to feel vulnerable because probably as a result of life's experiences, we have disclosed things to people and they have used it against us in hurtful ways, making us feel like we need to suppress being that person, so we turn into somebody else. Just think for a minute about a characteristic of yourself that you conceal from others, and you conceal it because you think that they will perceive you in a light that you don't want to be viewed in. Give you an example. I am a very sensitive person. I pretty much, I'll watch Bambi and cry. I watch Born Free and cry. There are things that I watch and I get teary-eyed about. Now I know that has a lot to do with the trauma that I've experienced throughout my life. I know that. But I'll tell people that. And people often look at me as this, you know, this confident, sort of unfeeling person because I'm very direct, because I'm very blunt. But people don't realize that I care. I legitimately care about the next person. And sometimes I can be perceived as not caring because I am very direct. Not disrespectful. I don't speak down to anyone, but I'm very direct about whatever it is that I have to say. But I do it in a manner that is not offending. I try to be non-offensive when I'm talking to someone. And sometimes I use humor as a result of that. And I've even been told that I need to be more serious. Well, I've been a serious person all my life. Up until years of late where I've made those changes because I didn't see any need for it. There's no need to be serious about everything. We have to sometimes laugh at ourselves. And I do that. I laugh at myself for some of the things that I do or say or don't do or don't say. I laugh at myself because I'm funny. I mean, that's just the reality. I'm funny. But when people see me walking down the street, or when people see me in certain environments, they get a different feel based on their lens of who I am. But I'm consistent. The same person you see sitting here in front of the camera, the same person you see standing behind a podium, standing in front of a group of hundreds of people, doing workshops, lectures, and presentations. I'm the same person that you're going to run into in the street. The same person. The same exact person. I have learned to be consistently who I am. If you don't like me, fine. Move. Get out the way. There's others behind you who do. Love, respect me for who I am. So just get out the way. But I give that to people. And it's important that I have heartfelt relationships with other males as well, because I understand how we have been conditioned to not be like that. It seems like the only time that we can laugh and joke with one another is sitting side by side at the bar or on the basketball court blowing some spliffs and things like that. And it's false. It's not real. It's just part of the environment. And I'm not a fake and phony person. I'm a real person. I'm a person who has feelings just like the next person. I'm a person who is flawed just like the next person. I make a lot of mistakes. I make mistakes today. I do stupid things today. I'm capable of doing any of those things that I did 20, 30, 40 years ago today. All of us are. But I don't need to make you take ownership for yours. I'm only telling you that when you begin to take ownership for the fact that you have been conditioned a certain way, there are certain characteristics, certain flaws that you present to others that are often offending and hurtful towards others, and then you're not forthcoming about your own stuff, you make other people feel like, they're less than. And it's easy to say, well, I didn't make you feel that way. You felt that way on your own. You're right. I did feel that way on my own. But you didn't have to add to it. You didn't have to disrespect me by speaking to me in that manner about my conduct. We're often too brash towards others. If you say something to me and I feel bothered by it, offended by it, I need to handle it where I don't become you in that situation. So sometimes I might have to just shut up. What's the harm in shutting up? There isn't any. There's more harm in opening your mouth and responding to your emotions about what the person just presented to you. You have an opportunity to make it right. when you don't say anything. Once we begin to respond to situations because our emotions have been affected, then it's over. And we lose a lot of good relationships because of that. So my favorite quote of 2013, make every moment a teach you about me moment instead of a tell you about you moment. So if I take a minute, a day, 5 days, whatever time it takes, if I take that time to withdraw from whatever that conflict was and assess what took place, assess if I had any role in your conditioning as to why you interact with me that way, assess what was going on at the time with you and or me. Look at the whole picture. And then look for a more appropriate way to approach the situation. Follow me? Look for a more appropriate way to approach the situation. Now I can go back being who I am, not being that person, not taking on their characteristics, not addressing the situation as they had addressed the situation, and it can come out whereas they learned something about me. I'm not bashing them, I'm only letting them know how I was affected by their behavior, and maybe even as far as, letting them know, the origin and where it is for me. And be prepared for whatever reply they may give. Because some people just don't give a damn. Yeah, all right, well, whatever. Okay, but I took responsibility and let you know. So, if and when it happens again, you're already aware. So then at that point, I need to make a conscious decision when it happens again to cut that off. In whatever way I need to cut it off. Sometimes there are relationships that we just can't sever because of other attachments to it. But that doesn't mean that we can't cut off or reduce it down to at the minimal amount of contact between us, only when necessary. There's options that I have. And some people say, well, yeah, but it's still going to be this. You still got to, now, listen. Stop focusing on the other person. The effort has to come from me. I already know this about the person. I need to have the interaction with them and keep it moving. I need to accept that that's who they are. I need to grin and bear it in the circumstance, deal with them, and keep moving. After being consistent in acting that way towards that interaction, you'll find that it's just like riding a bike, that other situations that you come upon that are just like that one, you keep it moving. Everything doesn't deserve a response. And sometimes we respond to things that we don't even need to respond to. But a lot of times it's out of pride, out of ego, being grandiose, just wanting to, be heard. It's a whole host of reasons that we act out negatively. And you will act out negatively less if you're doing work all the while before even being faced with those situations. If you know that's your character. If you know that is your character, then you need to be doing work on that. You can't continue to sit around and blame somebody else for your condition. You can't. You can't. Everything in life starts out with a framework. Even us as a fetus. when the egg and the sperm connect, there's a structure that begins to take place. The DNA, the chromosomes, all the cells, all those things are part of our structuring. The condition of the mother, as far as her health, what she's putting into her body, her external environment, meaning you. What are you putting into her system while she's pregnant? All those things are part of the structural framework of the developing, of the building of that being. And it starts as soon as the two connect. As soon as that egg and that sperm cell connect, it starts right there. And it begins to go to work. So it's just like you looking at a construction site. If you go to a construction site where they had just demolished the building, they've demolished it, they've removed the debris from that structure, and a lot of times you'll see they'll dig down. They'll dig down deeper to get to the foundation before they start building something back up. They won't erect something on top of something that's unstable, even though it has happened, and the times that it has happened where properties have been built over top of ash creeks and things like that, over a period of time, those properties gradually sink down, which happened in Logan in Philadelphia with those properties. The way they were built over top of ash, and eventually they all sank. Now those folks who built it, they knew that was going to happen. They weren't stupid, but they knew that the foundation would last long enough to build, and over time, no matter if it was 50, 60, 80, 100 years, that it would deteriorate. They knew that, but they got their benefit from it. As human beings, one of the things that we have to focus on is our structure. And you can stand in front of a person and you can see a physical structure. Just like you can stand in front of my house and you can see the physical house. But you can't see this office, you can't see this studio, you can't see my kitchen, not unless I open the windows and open the blinds. You can't see my basement, so you can't see anything inside of this house. Me. My being is a house. So I need to get my house in order. And part of getting my house in order is understanding myself. It's understanding myself. So once I understand things about myself, when I sit in front of somebody else, I'm able to tell them about myself. And what often happens is we connect with others. And now I'm beginning to move into the relationship piece with a partner. When you move into the dating process, you begin to see how you really connect with people and how you change up during the course of that interaction. And you need to be aware of those things. What is it about that person that forced you to change up the course of where you were going? What irritated you? Why did it irritate you? And how did you respond to that? And a lot of times we turn a blind eye to those red flags because we want what we want. In our session next week, we're going to further this discussion on the dating process, on what happens when we begin to get involved with individuals. What are the telltale signs that happen, and why do we not appropriately respond to those telltale signs, those red flags? Why? What is it about us that prevents us from addressing those things? What is it about us that prevents us from walking away? Why do we stay? When we really need to know those things. Because many of us have been or are in unhealthy relationships. And then until we begin to address ourselves and stop addressing that other person, we're going to have that same type of relationship for the rest of our lives, be it with that person or another person just like that, because that's what we're attracted to, and we need to find out why. Again, Thank you for joining me at Side Spot. Be safe. This weather is going to get wicked here on the East Coast. Stay warm. Peace.